Live from Liverpool, we need to talk about ghosts with Kevin Eustace.
Oh my delightful world. I don't need to tell you guys what time of year it is. I'm so excited and I just can't hide it. For it is Halloween, it is Samhain, it is whatever you want to call it, but it is the most scariest time of the year. A little song for you there. In fact, you know what? It's such a Halloweeny, scary, amazing time for us guys. I do feel like a song's in order. Sunday, Monday, we've got shows. Tuesday, Wednesday, we've got shows. Thursday, it is Halloween. Halloween, wanna ween. It's the best ween of the year. Goodbye sunshine, hello rain. Wearing a sheet or shaking chains. There is blood all up the wall. Asking who you gonna call. Ba-da-da-bam, bam, bam, bam. 8 minutes instrumental, it's not that long. That'll be mental. Yeah, come on. Sunday, Monday, we've got podcasts out. Tuesday, Wednesday, so many podcasts out. Thursday, it's actually Halloween. Halloween, wanna ween. It's the best ween of the year. So there you go. Just gonna lower that down. So that was happy. It's still on. Wait there, I'll stop. There you go. So the reason that came on is because somebody actually said to me, how many podcasts you doing this week then? I was like, I'm doing one on Sunday, Monday. They're both podcasts. Tuesday, Wednesday, they're both podcasts. And I was like, hold on. I know a song that sounds like that. I'm going to do it for the show. And you know what? Because it's my show, I did. So sue me. Actually, I didn't pay royalties for the track, so someone could actually sue me. Please don't sue me. If you know the Fonz, don't tell him about that. Not that he wrote it or written it. Whatever's right. I don't know. How are you? It's Halloween. You may be able to tell that I'm excited. I'm very excited. If I was any more excited, I'd be done for indecency. I do hope you're all fantastic. You're having a wonderful festive period. I know you've been sending me emails about what you're doing for Halloween. I've seen some amazing photos on the Instagram page as well that you've sent over. Fantastic. Everyone's having a frivolous? Yes, frivolous. A frivolous and fun, festive, scary time. Because this is our festive season, guys. Oh, yes, it is. Now, we have two massive announcements. If these announcements were any bigger, I don't know what to do, because this is the only means you have to say things. I suppose I could rent a biplane, yes, and I could write it in the sky, but a lot of people go, I've never even heard of that podcast. But hopefully you guys have, because you're listening to it. Also, there might be new listeners listening to this show, and I'll explain why in a minute, because I need to just invite Rebecca down so we can discuss these huge announcements, as I like to say, or as the French would say, announcements. Here we go. Let's get Becca on. So, here we are. It is announcement time on We Need to Talk About Ghosts.
Drumroll.
Yes, I'm joined by Rebecca. Say hello, Rebecca.
Hello, Rebecca.
Hey. You might have to get closer to the microphone if you want to be heard. Do you want to be heard?
I do want to be heard because this is the biggest, most exciting announcement.
I think it is. And it's the first of two big, exciting announcements.
Yeah.
So, this big, exciting announcement, you know the way I always say, if you want to get in touch with the show, send an email to talkaboutghosts@hotmail.com.
And it just doesn't sound pro.
It just doesn't sound pro. Does it, manager?
No. Can't have that. Not good enough.
Can't have that. Not good enough. So what else could people do, though, to get in touch?
Well, frankly, Kevin, what you need is a proper domain. I'm thinking something
What?
like,
Hell,
contact.
like hell's a domain.
Yes, exactly like that.
Okay.
An email address, it needs to be, instead of at hotmail.com, that makes you just sound like a guy just out there.
On a Hotmail account, like some divvy.
Exactly. It needs to be at talkaboutghosts.com.
That's too long.
What?
At talkaboutghosts. I'm mocking your stutter. Sorry.
That wasn't...
It wasn't very
I
nice.
don't have a stutter, but...
No, you don't. No, you don't.
If it is,
if you
you
did,
shouldn't
I
mock
wouldn't
it.
mock it. Anyway, announcements. What we're trying to say...
I'm doing it terribly.
Is that we have a website.
A real life website.
I'm going to play music behind this that makes it go bling, 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 ding, or something, because what news? So if you go over to
talkaboutghosts.com,
then you will see the website is the home of the podcast. It's the new home of the podcast. On there, amazingly, you can contact us. I know that's like quite basic, like year 2000 stuff.
But with a proper domain.
A proper domain, a proper email address. Contact@talkaboutghost.com. That's your new email address. You'll see it on there. There's ways to support the show, not just Patreon now, although the Patreon link is still there, of course, because it's through Patreons that we were able to get the website in the first bloody place. So if you go over to the website, talkaboutghosts.com, you'll see at the top there's a load of links. There's support the show is one of the links, takes you to a page. There you can sign up to our wonderful Patreon like all the wonderful guys who do. There's also places you can make a donation to the show. You can go through affiliate links, so we get like a kickback off Amazon and stuff. If you don't want to pay any hard cash, you can just go and buy yourself something off Amazon. You'll still support the show. It's amazing.
Yep, and there's going to be like latest news, and you can listen to the episodes.
There's a place to listen to the episodes. Yeah, there's like a ghost news section which we're going to be populating with like little things that we found online and stuff, so that you can click through there as opposed to searching it yourself.
Yep.
I'm going to keep talking like this
Because we're so excited.
Yes, we are.
And it's now live. It's now
It's
live.
now
It's
live.
officially live. Look at it right. Honestly, get out your phone right now and just look, talkaboutghosts.com. Get on it right now.
And it's there. It's there in the
Actually there.
flesh. So this, ladies and gentlemen, was announcement 1. Announcement 2 is that more than like 99.9% certain on Wednesday of this week,
Drum roll, drum roll,
drum roll, drum roll, drum roll, just as our last Halloween special episode goes out, episode 3 of the Halloween specials, by the way, where myself and Becca will be investigating Vulcan Studios, as that drops in your ear holes, a certain AEW World Champion, Le Champion, Chris Jericho, will be releasing the podcast that I recorded with him a month or 2 ago, where we talk about paranormal Beatles. Now, I'll say this to you guys who listen to my show frequently. It's not the usual scatty Kev, and the reason for that is I'm speaking to Chris Jericho and Charlie Benante from Anthrax about ghosts and the Beatles. So, you know, when Chris Jericho says, so Kev, tell us something about, like, ghosts around John Lennon. I can't go, oh my God, I'm such a wally. Because,
yeah, you kind of have to actually do it properly.
yeah, you have to be a bit more professional than that when you're dealing with one of the biggest podcasters in the world.
But this is actually where your knowledge shines through, because you usually hide it quite well behind all these
I do, yeah.
dum-dums and things. But when that's kind of stripped away, you actually just see your depth and breadth
Oh,
of knowledge
thanks.
of the paranormal is actually excellent. So it's a really, really good episode to listen to.
Well, I hope so, because I only done it once. I haven't heard it since.
Yeah.
I'll be
Dead
in
good.
it for the first
Dead
time
good.
on Wednesday,
Dead good.
to be honest. So, and also that probably means that there's a lot of people listening to this episode who've never listened before. Jerichoholics.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Yeah, and I've got 3 big loves in life. Sorry, Becca, 4, including Becca, which are
That's why we say passions.
passions. Yeah. Wrestling, music, and the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to Chris Jericho, all those 3 things managed to converge at the same time.
Together at last.
Together at last. I'm
Lifelong
surprised.
dream.
I'm surprised that like the sky didn't open and like a Rick and Morty-esque portal didn't like open up, because it's like when the moon is in the 7th sun and stuff like that.
And that's the kind of thing that you're not going to get on the Jericho podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to burst into song on the Jericho podcast. In fact, I definitely don't. I definitely don't.
Thinking, wait a minute, I might burst into song on the Jericho podcast.
So yeah, this show that you listen to now is going to go back to ghost stories very shortly, and just to me, because we just wanted to both be together to tell you these wonderful announcements, because
So
we
excited.
are so excited about it.
And it's live. It's like, did I mention it's live now?
You
can
did?
go on
Did
to
I
it
mention
right
I've got a
now.
lapel mic? Not on me now, but I mean, like, just so you know.
Well, that's not pertinent, is it?
No, it's not pertinent.
But the fact that the website's live is we're specifically doing this announcement to announce that the website's
sorry,
live.
you're quite right. So 2 big announcements.
I'm going to go up there and take it down if you're not careful.
Don't. So we have a website. Jericho episode's out on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I have a lapel mic.
Great news all round, I think.
Yes, I think so too. Well, thank you, Rebecca. As always, it's a pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
And I will see you later. Maybe I'll email you on the website.
Maybe at contact@talkaboutghosts.com.
Yeah, because that would be the most egocentrical thing to do, won't it? I'll email you upstairs. Hi,
Yeah.
Becca, it's Kev. Just using the podcast account.
Yeah, well, I think you should. You need to get used to it.
So, guys, go over, check it out. It's amazing. Talk about ghosts. See what
look,
I just
you're
nearly
doing it,
done.
yeah. Look, you
I'm
did
not used to saying talk about ghosts at hotmail.com.
Yeah.
Lose the at
Contact
hotmail. How good's that?
Yeah.
Just go to
Contact us.
talkaboutghosts.com.
And drop us an email.
Drop us an email. Why not? That's why it's there. And talk like this. Okay, yeah, go over, check it out. Talkaboutghosts.com. I'll never say Hotmail again.
Excellent.
I mean, I will, like, my private address is Hotmail. I'm not just going to get loads of websites and domains now.
You know what? We're really bad at finishing these.
I can't finish any announcements ever.
No.
That's why we could never get married, because on day 4, they'd be like, shut up, and I'll be like, and then I fell over a hedgehog.
Yeah. Oh, and just before you go, and then we digress again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talkaboutghosts@hotmail.com? No?
No. Contact that.
Stop saying contact that. That's the email address.
Yeah, I know, because you keep saying Hotmail, so I keep correcting it to the contact at talkaboutghosts.com.
I see what you've done there. Sorry, guys, we'll shut up. Go to the website, talkaboutghosts.com. Can you, Adam and Eve, it as Cockneys would say, our own website? It's like it's 1999, I tell you what. But yeah, go over, talkaboutghosts.com. I'm not going to get used to saying that, but I kind of have to. I'm paying for it. Well, you guys are with Patreon. Thank you very much. And that's what donating to Patreon brings you. Anyway, this is a Halloween episode. Let me explain to you what's going on in case you haven't picked up by previous things or by what I've just said there. Today's episode is going to be a standard episode. I mean, it's as standard as it can be when we're excited for Halloween, you know. But we're going to read out your ghost stories as per usual. Tomorrow's episode, now all edited, thankfully, all 3 of them are. Tomorrow's episode is going to be a conversation with me and my friend Neil. Very windy. And I've done my best to maintain the integrity of it. And it does actually work. Some very good stories on there. The next 2 episodes, Tuesday and Wednesday. First one, me and Becca go to the Anglican Cathedral in Liverpool and go ghost busting. That's not that scary in truth. It's a more funny and a bit of a walk around. On listening back, that is. It was scary at the time. The 3rd episode on Wednesday is the last live investigation where we went to Vulcan Studios. Now, that one's more scary for me. It was terrifying at the time. And again, a little bit funny too, as we like to try and do. But yeah, that's what you got coming up over the next 3 days. But for today's show, let's get back to basics and scare the living shizzle out of everybody. Because we've got some amazing stories sent in by you guys. And we're going to crack on with the very first one. Now, this first one, it's been on a bit of a backlog. It was sent in via Instagram. And this is from Ian. And it says, "Hi Kev, brilliant podcast. Thank you. Just listened to the Hanging Man Basement Ghost episode where you talk about the lights. I had a light experience about 20 years ago in my then teenage bedroom. I was sitting in the middle of the room on a chair watching TV when all of a sudden a dull white ball light appeared on the floor. I watched it go around the chair, under, and loop around the floor like it was a Scalextric track, then just disappear. The next night, I had a friend over sitting on the bed to the left of me. As we were watching TV, I saw his head moving around following something on the floor. His head seemed to be going in the same pattern as the light I saw the night before. As he stopped and looked up, I asked him what he saw. He described a little ball of light that was moving along the carpet. It never happened again, and I never had anything weird happen in the house. I do have a few weird stories that I will send over soon. Thanks, Kev." No. Thank you, Ian. Yeah, these balls of light thing. I am not, as I'll have told you before, I'm not a believer in orbs and stuff. You know, I think if the logical reason is blatantly obvious, then I'm very dubious about orbs. I'm not completely dismissing them. But when someone says, "Oh my God, look at this. I went into a filthy house and this happened," and you're like, yeah, it's just that, or a moth, or something like that, or a flea, maybe a flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers playing a bass. But most orbs, I'm like, nah. But as I say, me and Becca have both seen white lights, red lights going around the walls. Ian's one there. That's not an orb, you know, like an atypical orb that you catch on film. If he and his friend independently, is the key thing, have watched this white light do maneuvers, orchestral maneuvers in the dark around his living room floor, then that for me is good enough. Well done, Ian. What a story. Don't forget, if you have a story like that, or you've experienced something similar, go over to the website and, or you know what, I can't get rid of it. If you want to still send in to talkaboutghosts@hotmail.com, then do. But it's easier and better. Just go to talkaboutghosts.com, click on contact, or just email contact@talkaboutghosts.com. That's contact@talkaboutghosts.com with your stories, and I read them out. It's as simple as that. It's a very simple mechanism that we operate here. Anyway, let's have another story. Now, this story has came in from Kate Hall, and I'll be perfectly honest, I got bloody emotional reading this story. It's only brief, but it's lovely. And I know I don't normally do lovely stories, and I'd sooner have demons hanging from church roofs and going, I'm going to kill you, and things like that. But sometimes you get a story in and you're like, bloody hell. So I'm going to crack on and give this story the dignity and gravitas it deserves. Hi, Kevin. Love the podcast. And I thought I'd share a story. Getting emotional already? No, I'm not really. We'll see. I might do. I'll start by saying the beginning of the story is sad, but it's something that is real and happens and no one talks about, and I'm very open about it. My daughter is 2, and a year before she was born, we had our son who sadly passed away when he was a day old. I have always hoped and prayed that he would stay with us and watch over his sister. I have also always believed that kids are more sensitive than adults to supernatural things. Me too. That being said, this summer, my daughter and I were in the backyard, and she started looking under the table out there saying, why are you hiding? Why are you hiding, brother? She's in a big hide and seek phase. I asked which brother, as I have a stepson who's 18. She said, Henry, my son. And I asked where he was. She whispered, he's inside the house. Let's go find him. Shh. Which was so creepy to hear in a whisper voice. Yeah, in truth. I mean, this is a beautiful, beautiful story, I guarantee you, but that's terrifying, isn't it? Let's be honest. We went inside the house and she took my hand and led me upstairs. When we got to the first landing, where you could see directly into her room / his room / the nursery, she stopped and pointed and said, he's right there, come on. I honestly probably should have been more scared, but I love so very much that he's still around us. I often feel him around, but knowing my daughter sees him makes my heart happy. I hope she always does. Anyway, sorry if this was a downer, but I think it has a beautiful message attached. Thanks, Kate. No, thank you, Kate, because now and again I'm convinced that I have a heart of stone and stories like that come in and I completely go to pot. I actually think Becca's just come in, which would be a perfect time for me to not burst into tears. Becca, is that you? Come say hello. It's Becca, everyone. She's been shopping. Have you been shopping?
Hello, I have been shopping.
What did you buy? Anything spooky with it being Halloween?
No, sorry.
Well, that's crap, innit? I'm doing a bloody paranormal podcast.
But you can't buy a ghost, can you?
Want to bet?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair point. What did you actually buy? Just boring, mundane human stuff?
Yeah, no, but I am really pleased. I finally got bulbs for this thing. I found them.
Well, I will talk to you about after the show about that because you have been looking for them bulbs for so long.
Ages. Yeah, so it means I don't have to work in the dark.
I've just read a beautifully beautiful but terribly sad story.
Oh, right.
I got quite emotional reading it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. What are you going to do to get me out of this emotion?
What do you want me to do?
Make something up. You should know what to do. You're my partner, for crying out loud. Cheer me up.
I've literally just walked through the door. What do you want? God's sake.
Cheer me up.
Would you want to dance a jig or song?
I can't dance. I've got a microphone. Do something that requires me to not move. You dance. Anyway.
Dance for me, wench.
Dance for me, wench. Gonna have to be quicker than this.
I've literally just come in. I don't know what you want from me.
Right, well, that's a failure.
So
I'm now sad.
Right, okay.
Thank you for that.
So, what, do you want me to get you some chocolate? Would that help? Or jellies?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, now he's smiling. Thought chocolate and jellies. Right, easy done one. I'll think of that first.
What a ruse. Well, it wasn't a ruse. It was genuinely scary. I can't believe, actually, you know what? I've just realised this could be terribly bad taste because it was an awful story in terms of like sadness. And I'm using it to get chocolate and sweets. Thanks. So I'm probably going to stop this now. I'll let you go and unpack your shopping. Thanks. And I'll get back to the people on the show.
Okay.
Okay. As always, a pleasure, though.
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Bye-bye.
Bye. Say bye, everyone, to Becca. She hears you. She hears you. Let me put the microphone down. There we go. So, yeah. Okay, I'm back to normal now after that slight emotional breakdown. So, should we have a midpoint? We'll all compose and get our thoughts together. I think so. That's a good idea. Yeah, midpoint, yeah? Yeah, midpoint. For anyone who's new to the show, such as who's found the show thanks to Mr. Christopher Jericho, etc., you're probably wondering why I done that bit in German. You'll have to go back and listen to previous episodes about that, because I'm not doing it anymore. I refuse to slag off my European brothers. Anyway, how have you been? It is Halloween. I do hope that you're Halloween? It's like Halloween, but the Halloween version. Halloween out pumpkins, carving faces into them, getting dressed up all weird and scaring the living shit out of each other. Sorry for the language. Speaking of language, the third Halloween special, the one that's coming up on Wednesday, it definitely has a not safe for children warning, because I'm terrified. And when I'm terrified, I swear like a docker. So yeah, don't let kids listen to that one. Unless, you want them to learn common swearing parlance, in which case, then by all means, use it as a learning tool. Anyway, it is Halloween. It's the best time of the year. Why don't people do real things at Halloween? This is the one thing I want to ask. Can somebody tell me they're going to do a seance or a Ouija board or some Necronomicon or some like Raising of the Dead or something? Because instead we just get like, I'm going to dress as the Joker. I'm going to go and get drunk. It's like, oh, why? It's like the veil is at its thinnest. Why don't we try and conjure the dead? Come on, help me, people. So if anyone wants to take part in a mass seance, we can't do it because we won't have the functionality. But do it in your own time. Seriously, like, get in touch if you're doing a Ouija board, a seance, anything that is actually spooky. Want to know what I'm doing on Halloween? I'll tell you. Me and Becca, every Halloween, Becca lets me watch. I mean, she watches with me one spooky thing because she doesn't tolerate it otherwise. And I have to watch it alone. This year, I will be watching Most Haunted live. Yvette Fielding and the team, etc. It's not on TV, though. It's on YouTube, which means all of our friends over in the States and elsewhere in the world can watch it as well. Obviously, you might be watching it like 2 PM and be like, this isn't scary at all. But in the UK, it's on at 9 o'clock at night. Yes, we're getting pizza, picky bits, popcorn, anything that begins with a P. And it's going to be fantastic. So, it's that time of the show where I like to say thank you to our Patreons. And again, anyone who's new is going to wonder, why the hell is he doing it like that? Well, this is what we do, all right, new guy? This is what we do. We sing to the Patreons. We sing for our sapper. If you'd like to become a Patreon, go over to talkaboutghosts.com and click on the support the show page. And you'll see a link to the Patreon and all of the ways to help the show. And it'd be great if you could, because that's how the show's expanding. Okay, so let's say hello to some Patreons. The guitar's out. Oh yeah, get the guitar. So the first one we've got is Lisa Wilson. Now, she says her surname with the second Patreon, Laurie K. Wilson. They could be sisters, mother and daughter, aunt and niece, grandmother and grandchild. Or they might not know each other at all. But I hope they do. In the back of my head, they're all friends together. So this song's for Lisa first, and it goes like this. Well, I heard there was a Patreon, her name was Lisa Wilson. She signed up to the Patreon this week, yeah. And she signed up to Team Poltergeist, and I thank her, and I say it twice. So thank you, Lisa Wilson. Lisa Wilson, Lisa Wilson. Lisa Wilson, Lisa Wilson. I would have definitely stopped listening by now. Anyway, thank you, Lisa Wilson. And also, as I say, we have Laurie K. Wilson. That's 3 words, Laurie K. Wilson. Her name's not Laurie K., which is a good name nonetheless. So, Laurie, this song's for you. We have a patron, it's Laurie K. Wilson, I say. She signed up to Exilist, 'cause she's the best. So she gets a thank you in this song and all of that jazz. Yeah. And access to mini-sodes, postings and razzmatazz. I must say, razzmatazz doesn't actually come with the Patreon sign-up. But thank you both to the Wilson girls there for your patronage. If you'd like to be a patron and have your name sung up by this lemon, then go over to talkaboutghosts.com. Click the support the show page, and there's a link to the Patreon and other ways to donate. You guys are amazing, and I love you all. Anyway, let's get scared together. Okay, guys, we're back once again with the earliest of behaviours. So, the next little story, and this is a very little story, but it's creepy. So, I'm going to play you a bit of audio, and I've found a new amazing way to record audio to the show. So, normally when I'm playing you something from my phone, I just hold it up to the microphone, as you probably know, because I'm technically amazing. That was sarcasm there. I am a bit of a Luddite. If you don't know what a Luddite is, Google it. You'll find that they were technological haters of the ages ago times in England. And they battered machines. No, we want to do it by hand. And I'm a bit like that when it comes to technology. But the wonderful potato pie. Yes, one of my Instagram friends sent me the following audio. It's actually a video, but you don't see anything on the video. It's quite black, so the audio is what you really get. Now, do yourself a favour for spookiness reasons. Only listen to this when you're in bed, when you're about to fall asleep, and listen to this. Now, I'll set the scene for you. And she puts this, after she sent me this, I went, what was that? Why have you just sent me that? That's terrifying. And she said, basically, this only happens when I'm alone in the house. My housemate said it's a breeze, but the windows are closed and it's happening even in the dead heat of summer when there isn't a puff of wind. Maybe I just listen to too many ghost podcasts, but I'm convinced we're haunted by a woman. Now, listen very, very clearly. And as I say, just play this alone. So what you're listening to is the sound of doors being closed around our house. You may think that's not spooky, but it is. I promise you it is. So hire up your phone or whatever you listen to this on. Make sure you're in the dark, in bed, alone. Because that's the best way to scare the living bejesus out yourself. But do listen to this. Here we go. There you go. Now, if that was me, when I actually listened to that, I was alone. I was in the flat. I was upstairs. I had my headphones. I bought a new pair of headphones and they're amazing. I put it on and I listened to that and it sent a shiver down my spine. I know you're thinking, well, it's just like knocks and bangs, but it is all about the environment that you listen to that in. I promise you. You know, if you listen to that on the bus, you're probably like, what? And what is scary about that? Okay, then, brave face. I challenge you to go into a dark room, think about ghosts, and then listen to that, because that's what I was doing. And I promise you, the images you get in your brain are nice, are not nice ones even. So thank you, Potato Pie, for sending that over. She just says she's going to send more stuff over. Please do. If it's as scary as that, I may die. I did say to her as well, set the camera up. Maybe you're going to start like a new Dear David thing. We haven't touched on Dear David, have we? Maybe we should. Maybe we shouldn't. I think we're all of the opinion it's blag. Or fake, if you don't know what blag means. So yeah, thank you, Potato Pie. That's genuinely scary. And now we have another lovely story, which I couldn't get to last week because it went to be spam mail. Yes, an email just for meat. And this email is amazing. It comes in from Nathalie, and Nathalie Croxon, and it is Nathalie with a H. I've not got a lisp. And if you do have a lisp, I do apologise for saying lisp. I mean lisp. So this is from Nathalie, and she says, "Hi Kev, I'm sat here bereft." She doesn't say that. She says, "I'm sat here bereft, having only discovered you last week. I've managed to listen to all 71 episodes. It's a small miracle considering I have 2 young, in brackets, and incredibly demanding, children. I run my own business, and my husband likes to do things like talk to me of an evening. Damn him. Now I have to wait weekly for the next shows. It's like watching a box set before binge watching was invented. Rubbish," she says in block capital letters and an exclamation point too. "I sent you a message on Facebook last week, very excited that I had stories to share. And that, as I didn't have time to write them down, I'd record them." She did say that. I can verify that. She did say that anyway. Well, 7 attempts later, in brackets, which in that time I could have written all my stories down, I've discovered that recordings of my voice are incredibly cringy and I go off on random tangents. Nathalie, I will just say, so do I, and so do I. What you should do is start a podcast and never listen to any episode you put out. That's what I do. Let's see. So much so that I think I'd send your listeners to sleep. Aw. Well, maybe do that and I'll do a special nighttime episode so we can all go to sleep to your lovely voice. Also, having now listened to you speak 71 times, I'd much prefer you to tell my stories. You may also go off on random tangents. Hey! But you're emotionally engaged and respectful of people's often very personal anecdotes, so I trust you. Well, bloody hell, there's no pressure here, is there? That's sarcasm there, everybody. Just in case anyone out there doesn't recognise it. I have a lot of pressure now to not take the mick and be very respectful and emotionally engaged. Jesus wept. Let me continue. May I request that you don't attempt any other accents? Okay, yeah, she's heard the show before. Other than your own dulcet Scouse tones for this. Especially given that I was born in Birmingham, raised in Devon, went to university in Kent, lived in London for 10 years and now reside on the Sussex coast, just outside of Brighton. I think she's a traveller. So if you could mesh all those accents into one, Lordy knows what would come out. In brackets, I haven't got a Scooby of what my own accent is. Anywho, I'm waffling. For our American friends and for any other friends who don't understand rhyming slang, a Scooby means a Scooby-Doo or a clue. So when she says, I haven't got a Scooby of what my own accent is, she means a clue. She hadn't got a clue. So I'm going to attempt to do this in a London, Devon, Birmingham, Kent, Brighton accent. Here we go. I'm really not. Imagine the bloody death that would be. So she says, I have a few stories to share with you, some long and some short, but some spookily sweet. Feel free to share them and read them out as and when you wish. I will, and I'm going to do them all now. Story 1. Before I go on, out of respect to listeners, I feel I need to warn you that this story is about a traumatic birth. Christ, this is the pressure thing I was on about. But my baby is now a beautiful and energetic toddler. Woohoo! That's me saying woohoo, because the pressure's gone now. I wasn't actually going to begin with this, but something is compelling me to. It's very personal and raw, but here it goes. Right, I'm going to have to bloody, man up for this. Come on, professionalism. Here we go. My mum died quite suddenly in 2010. She'd had breast cancer, but been in remission for about 3 years. So when she was told it had returned, in brackets it had never really gone, it was a huge shock, especially as she'd just remarried 2 months before. Bloody hell. The day she died, I had gone to hospital to collect her. In brackets, she'd spent a week there due to a bad reaction to the chemo. All of a sudden, I was taken to one side by the doctor and told there was nothing they could do. The cancer was spreading through her body at an alarming and uncontrollable rate, and they'd have to wait the next 24 hours to see what would happen. 3 hours later, she passed away. I was with her when she took her last breath. As I'm sure you can imagine, this was utterly devastating. I was only 27 and my dad had died 8 years before. His passing was very sad and self-inflicted, having suffered from depression and alcoholism. So we'll save that one for another time, maybe another podcast. Okay, so Kev is getting emotionally invested into this. Interesting side note, I lost my mother when I was 16, yes. I'd like to crack a joke and say I found her again the week after, but no. So I do have, and everyone's different, aren't they? So I'm not going to patronise you and say I have any clue what you went through, because I'm sure it's completely different to what I and everyone else who experiences loss goes through. But you do have my heartfelt, whatever the correct word to say is, and I'm being sincere with that. Condolences. There you go. Okay, so having always had an interest in the supernatural and paranormal, I spent the next couple of years waiting for my parents to do something, anything, to let me know they were with me. My mum was also interested in this subject. In brackets, I realise now where I must have gained my obsession from. I need to stop there. So did my mother. Seriously. And maybe, I think I was interested in it before, not before she was, because that would be impossible. I was interested in it before she died. But yeah, interesting coincidence there. Maybe this is what compelled you to write in. I don't know. Let's see. And had had several experiences herself. They'll all be bundled into the short but spookily sweet stories. Okay, lovely. As time went on, nothing happened. No visions, no objects flying across my room. I grew frustrated and my belief system wavered. Not even watching Most Haunted had the same magic, and I bloody love Yvette Fielding. I told you I'd go off on tangents, but I promise you this is all relevant to the next story. Fast forward 7 years and I went to have Reiki. For those who aren't aware, it's not directly linked to the paranormal, but those who practice it open their third eye. Hold on. Just literally close that page down. Open their third eye and can have the ability to communicate with those who've passed, in brackets, their energy. It's a form of alternative medicine called energy healing. Anyway, when the Reiki lady, let's call her Kay, opened her front door to me, my immediate reaction was, wow, she looks just like my mum. In brackets, months later, when my husband would meet her for a different reason, this was his shock reaction too. That's interesting. Once Kay had finished the session, she told me I had a lot of pain in my heart and that I had been bereaved. There are 7 chakras in our body and the heart chakra is green. Throughout the session, I saw green while my eyes were closed. I had never seen anything like this before. It was like a green lava lamp floating around. Kay told me both my parents had died and she had connected with my mum. It was incredible. In the years since my mum had died, this was the first time I had met someone who had communicated with her. It was wonderful. I went back every month for 3 more months, as I discovered that Reiki was helping me so much. I hadn't had grief counselling to deal with my parents' deaths or everything else I had previously experienced with my dad's mental health issues, but I felt a huge weight lifted from me during those months. To this day, I still haven't experienced any low dips. Each time I went back, Kay told me that my mum was really strong and she was protecting me. One time, she told me that my mum was standing in front of me, protecting me from something she described as being like a dark entity that was trying to hurt me. Kay couldn't make it out, but it wasn't good. She described my mum as still being the lioness she'd been in life, protecting her cub, me. Sadly, I couldn't afford to keep seeing Kay, so I stopped going. A year later, I was pregnant with my second baby and very ill with the pregnancy. So much so that I was housebound and warned that I would most likely have a premature birth because of the condition I had been diagnosed with. It was a traumatic time, and on top of all that, I was also feeling anxious that I may experience postnatal depression again, like I had with my first child. I kept dreaming about Kay, and something kept on telling me to book an appointment with her, but I ignored it as I couldn't justify the cost at the time. It was only £30, but that was nearly a week's food for us. A few weeks later, completely out of the blue, I received a message from Kay. She said she knew I wanted to see her and provided me with various dates she was available. I couldn't believe it and booked immediately. I asked her how she knew, and she replied, "You know how." I did. It was my mum. Upon visiting her, Kay discovered I was pregnant. What I haven't told you about Kay is not only is she a Reiki master, but she also happens to be the head midwife at the hospital I was due to give birth at. Now that's interesting, isn't it? Says Kev. Me. This Kay. I find that fascinating that somebody who's actually in the real world medical scenario also has a belief in this type of stuff. I find that quite good and reassuring. But I continue. Now that she was aware of my pregnancy, the medical condition and my worries, not only did she check on me via message regularly, but she was also aware when I was going into hospital. Having taken all the advised precautions, I didn't go into premature labour, but I did have to be induced the day after my due date. The day I went in, Monday, Kay popped onto the induction ward at the end of her shift to wish me good luck and said, "It's a shame you're in today. I won't be back in until Thursday night, and I'm sure you'll be home by then." Well, women came and went from that ward over the next few days to have their babies, but my body was not ready to release my baby. Various medical attempts had been made, but I had to relent and go for the drip-fed induction, which is the last resort to bring on labour. I won't go into too much detail about it, thank God for that, but it creates synthetic contractions that are so painful, block capitals. Women are advised to have an epidural before this process begins so that you don't feel anything. Having gone through the same experience with my first baby, I was dreading the epidural. Despite the fact that as soon as the pain relief is in your body and you, quite literally, lie back and wait, I was determined to have a different birthing experience, especially as any hope for a natural water birth was once again replaced with a very clinical medical birth. I had attempted every, block capitals, old wives' tale, birth-inducing strategy under the sun. I'd eaten all the curry, walked miles, and even you-know-what with my husband. What, I know what? Oh, yes, I know what. I'd now been in hospital for 4 days. I was exhausted, demoralised, and despite the fact that I was so close to meeting my son, I was scared. God bless you. Just as I was told I would have the killer contractions induction, my midwife walked in. Guess who it was? Yes, that's right, Kay. She had come on shift at the same time I'd been wheeled down, had seen I was on the labour ward, and being the boss, had appointed herself my midwife for the next 12 hours. Bloody hell. I immediately felt like my mum had walked through those heavy double swinging doors with her. That just hit me very emotional. That's bloody lovely. Anyway, again, I won't go into too much detail, but over the next 6 hours, the birth went horribly wrong. Oh dear. Having declined the epidural, deciding I could handle the contractions, in speech marks, just as I was ready to push, my baby got stuck. Before I knew it, my Fleetwood Mac birth playlist, Christ, was, well done, good band, was drowned out by ear-piercing alarms that fill the room, followed swiftly by a whole team of doctors. Side note, for months afterwards, anytime I heard Stevie Nicks singing Ooh Baby, Ooh from Edge of 17, it took me straight back to that room. I faced this post-traumatic stress trigger head-on, and I went to see them at Wembley this summer. Go ahead, girl. That's what we like. Once again, and for the sake of anybody listening to this who is pregnant, trying to be, or has experienced a traumatic birth, I will just say I was in agony because of the medical procedure the doctor was having to perform to get my baby out. Remember, I had declined pain relief, so was not numb from the waist down. As I lay screaming, Kay shouted for the doctor to stop and get me to theatre. In a fog of pain and fear, I just have a memory of feeling like Kay was actually really taking care of me. The next 30 minutes felt like a horror movie. I was rushed into theatre and my husband was taken away. All I remember was Kay being with me for the entire thing. As the doctors did what they needed to do and I sobbed uncontrollably in agony, I did so laying on my side and holding tightly onto Kay. My head burrowed into her stomach. She cuddled me so tightly and I felt like my mum was there with me. In fact, I know she was. What felt like hours was probably a matter of minutes, but my baby suddenly held above me and he was beautiful. It took a long time for me to get over that experience, and it's surprising I can even type this now without crying. Good for you, I'm reading it and struggling. A friend who is a sensitive told me months later that my baby and I both nearly died that night. So I've always been able to rationalise that I'm in fact so lucky to have him and to be here. I concur, yes you are. Cynics will think that it's just a coincidence that Kay was there that night, but how did she, in brackets, the woman who was a direct channel to my mum, know when to contact me that day, in brackets again, especially when I had been dreaming about her, and subsequently discovered I was pregnant and I would be in a hospital. She also just so happened to go back on shift as I finally, block capitals, went into labour, and she was with me during the most traumatic experience of my life. I have no doubt that my mum played a big part in it all. She was my lioness in life, and on the night I needed her the most, breaking up here, she made sure she was there to protect her cub. Maybe that was the dark entity Kay had seen my mum protecting me from. And you know what? Even if it was all just coincidence, I will spend the rest of my life believing that my mum was there with me when I needed her. And Kevin here, hello. I'm a big believer in that. Even if it is coincidence, so what? Get what you want out of life. We're only here for a very short time. If people want to believe in ghosts or whatever else, like I do, let them get on with it. What's the point in being a knobhead and trying to argue the toss? Just, whatever makes people happy. As John Lennon said, whatever gets you through the night. And he meant life. Seriously. So, thanks for listening to my story. It's the first time I've ever written it out, and it feels really cathartic doing so. It feels strange to be sharing my most personal experience with you and the listeners, but I love the podcast, and the fact I've been listening to you day and night, in block capitals, for days now, I kind of feel like I know you and comfortable enough to share. Is that weird? She asks. No, it's not. Thank you very much. Side note, the whole time I've been quietly typing this, my husband, a lifelong Liverpool Football Club fan, has been watching a documentary on his beloved team. So I've had a constant stream of Scouse accents fill the air, all the while I have written this imagining your Scouse accent reading it out. I was going to write other stories in this same email, but now I'm a bit emotionally drained, so I promise I will write and send them soon. Please do, Nathalie, because this was so well written, it's nearly brought me to tears. Yes. Thank you for dedicating your time to making a brilliant podcast. You're welcome. I'll become a patron soon as I next get paid, I promise. You don't have to promise that, nor do it. But if you want to, then by all means. And maybe one day you'll organise a big ghost hunt and I can travel up to join you all. Take care, Nathalie. Well, you know what? Maybe we will, Nathalie. And maybe you shall. Maybe we should. To be honest, I think the podcast is getting bigger. And me and Becca were talking, it started off very small, like 40 downloads a week, and I was chuffed with it, and I carried on. It's now getting much bigger, and it could get to the point where we go and do little shows around the country, maybe in the US, imagine, and just to meet people and say, you know what, thank you, and have a little bit of a laugh, do a little bit of a comedy show in there, and a live podcast. That'll be fun, wouldn't it? Every other podcast seems to be doing it, and I think we'd enjoy ours more. So there. But Nathalie, thank you so much for that story, and do send your others in. I've been up and down emotionally in this episode, haven't I? Haven't I just? That's because the veil is the thinnest. 'Tis Halloween. 'Tis the most wonderful time of the year. Don't forget, if you've got a story that you want to send in, go over to, you know what I'm going to say, talkaboutghosts.com. There's a contact page there, or just email contact@talkaboutghosts.com. We will read your stories out. If you want to support the show, it's all on the website. Go and do what you need to do. But don't forget, anyway, to wrap up, tomorrow, we have me and my good friend Neil Keating sitting in Blue Coat Chambers. Google that place. Telling it was built on slave money. It's that's not nice, obviously, but it's a very old historic site. And I think it was an old school, but we're in there anyway, in the belt and rain and wind, trying to record his ghost stories. I've done what I can with the audio. I think it's very passable, that point. Then after that on Tuesday, we have me and Becca in the cathedral and the graveyard. That's much better quality audio. Not as scary as I wanted to be, but, you know, you can't ask the dead to rise. We did. Nothing happened. And then day 3, Wednesday, is the final one. It's the live one from Vulcan Studios. A lot more scarier for me personally because I end up locking myself in a dark room and seeing what happens. And let me tell you, lots of swear words. That's what happens. So yeah, you've got a lot of content coming out from us these next few days because it's our peak season. It's Halloween. We love it so. And we love you so. So I'll let you get back to doing whatever you're doing. And I sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for downloading and listening. And if you manage to get through the next 4 days, it's about like 3.5 hours worth of content just of me. God, I'd shoot myself in the face. But I'm not expecting you to do it. Please listen and love it. Yeah, donate and all that. Yeah, don't shoot yourself. Anyway, without further ado, I'd like to say thank you and goodbye. See you on the other side. See you next week. Well, I won't see you tomorrow and the day after and the day after. And for the normal show, we'll see you next week. Okay? Oh, before I go, there's been quite a few emails, surprisingly, more surprisingly for me than anyone, asking if once every few episodes I'll put one of my songs on the end, like I used to do at the start. So yes, I will on this one. I'll play the normal end of theme tune so that everybody knows they can go away. They don't have to hang around and listen. But after the theme tune finishes, one of my songs will kick in. Yeah, I think it's going to be Banks of Liberation. But anyway, you don't have to listen to it. I wouldn't. Okay, I love you all. Tatty bye.
Step too far. If you open up your eyes, will you be blinded by God? Are you down on your knees or brushing him off? What in the world's to come of you now? Patience, my child, you've got things you should learn. You never cry, but you don't want to burn. Sin or saints, so hard to discern. What's to become of little old you? Are you gonna join me on the banks of liberation, singing, "Ooh, you're so good to me, ooh, you're so good to me. Let me come on back and we can have the celebration. Come on, what in the world is wrong with you? I think we should both just talk it over." Pick up your ears, you got messages to